YouTube, and welcome to the house. The WCQ is around the corner. Over 2,000 duels the past couple of years have competed and gone out, and the prices of people securing cards has made several things go insane, including our longtime friend Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, who has peaked its head back up once again. We see Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring over here at $61 for the ultra rare and $65 for the secret. I'm going to emphasize this once again, as I have in past market watches. Spend a couple extra dollars on the secret rare if you are buying it. Will hold better long-term value if you get stuck with it while there's an announcement for a reprint. As we've seen with Ghost Ogre, the super / gold sunk way lower than the secret rares themselves. Similarly, the same would happen to the ultra rare Ash Blossoms. We come over here to eBay. There's some sketchy listings, such as one with a backwards looking card. It says used. It says you get what's in the description, and then like I just wouldn't buy this one. It doesn't tell me what the actual grading of this card is, so I don't trust this 58. And then we get to 65 on the secrets, but the ultras should be a little cheaper if we come in and look at Legendary Collection Kaiba. But similarly, sketchy things such as Nice Macker quote-unquote fan-made poster. We also see similarly the next one being a quote-unquote Legendary Collection Kaiba, so please be careful while you're shopping. Really read your listings. And then finally we see the cheapest being around 55. Still doesn't say near mint. Then we see another 55 near mint or best offer, 55. So realistically, Ash is a little cheaper than we're seeing on TCG Player, and a lot of the prices are up on TCG Player today. It would seem. It seems like people really are preparing for their WCQs. They've kind of tested. They've gotten out to regionals. They've seen what's happening at regionals, and they are deciding on the deck they are going for. Infinite and Permanent, similarly, now stretching towards $90. It's so painful to say that. On eBay, it is a little better. We see a bunch of new listings popping up around 82, but it is starting to quickly go up as well. I don't know that this is one of the best cards against the Sky Strikers or Brandish Maidens. Like, I don't know that it will be that impactful if they're running amok, but I know you'll want to play this in your Altergeist for sure. And it's, when you start to think about rogue options and rogue decks, this is where this card really tends to shine. You're going to want this for almost any rogue matchup, and there will be plenty of them even at the WCQ. So it's definitely better than Effect Veiler. Let's just re-emphasize that. We don't have Needle Fiber. You can't argue it's a tuner body. This card, a lot of people are going to be going for it in the next coming days. So even the nice listings that are auctions that pop up, you'll see them sell relatively high. I think there's even an auction, like I was watching auctions for this, and we see the auctions starting to spread well above 70, the price it was at. Yeah, here's all the auctions, like there's only 6 of them. People are really valuing this card. Being a little bit short printed really drove this to like old secret rare pricing. Firewall Dragon and Trickstar Reincarnation. 2 cards here that have been spiking up in value. People are like, you missed $50 Firewall Dragon. Well, on eBay, it was almost automatically cooled off, and it's all the way back down to 40, 38, etc. People are kind of expecting this in the Megatons. It would be weird for Borload to be in there and Firewall not be in there. Maybe they're holding it back as a promo card. We really don't know. It could not be in there at all. Anything talking about that is pure speculation. But it is a candidate for the Megatons, so you do want to keep that in mind. But it's found its place back in the meta. A lot of decks are using it. Of course, Spirals love this card, so it's finding its ways back into like other decks and getting played. And even as a one-of, it's finding its way back up in price. And it did receive a pretty big wave of either people buying it or it being bought out. There's a Firewall Dragon in another game, by the way, which is kind of annoying when you're searching it sometimes. But we do see that it does somewhat quickly rise back up, and there's a lot of sellers trying to get ridiculous prices. In my opinion, if you're playing in the WCQ and you want to get Firewall, you're kind of stuck getting it. And if you're not, this is a great time to go ahead and sell it. Similarly, Reincarnation is 35, and this is one of the ones TCG players winning. We go over to eBay, the lowest is 40. I can't believe what I'm looking at. We have a few cheaper from other countries, but you'll take a really long time to get them in. This isn't the half-ass buyout thing. Like, these are just here because people want to get them in time. But realistically, go over to TCG Player if you're thinking about Trickstars. In my opinion, I love the quote, Trickstars will never be the best deck. They're a very good counter, but something the OCG doesn't currently have is full power Trickstars. They kind of had that taken away from them very, very early with the Reincarnation hit. So if we're looking at Trickstars here, it's very different compared to the OCG meta. You'll want to prepare for this matchup, especially with the new time rules. A lot of people are figuring games do last a while with this, and it will have a huge advantage in time. I think that's somewhat scummy to think, but the WCQ is where you'll see most of that type of play. Its price is rising. It's not a bad deck. It is a contender. It will top, in my opinion, despite there being Sky Strikers, Altergeist, and Spirals, the Goki Brandish Mate. It's like all these other decks you can play. I think Trickstars is still a contender, but I also think this is a pretty high price, and we could easily see Reincarnation in the 10s, and that be why it wasn't hit. But again, that's just speculation. Now, a card that definitely is in there, still sitting at $65, is Borolo Dragon. In my opinion, you want to sell this immediately if you don't have many more upcoming events and you're not playing in the WCQ. But if you're playing in the WCQ, almost no matter what deck you're playing, you're probably playing one of these cards, and it's gonna cost you if you let it go. It's pretty crazy. It's due for a reprint. It will be guaranteed in the Megatons, but I think it will also hold value, and I think that's what a lot of people are considering. Solemn Strike being a chase card. Remember, it started and fell to 25, quickly rose back to 30. The Secret from the Megaton started at 15 to 20, easily gained 20 to 25 until its eventual like phasing out of metas and reprint. I think Borolo's not going to really phase out, and one reprint's not enough. Even with an alter art due for us, I think it's going to stick around a relatively high price unless Konami just shows a disregard for the Megatons again and makes some legendary decks, and oh, here's Borolo, Firewall, all the alter arts. Like, sure, that could happen, but I really hope Konami's learned from itself, and this will probably be a chase for a while out of the 10s, I would imagine. Isolde, Two Tales of Noble Knights is up to $16, you're saying. I really thought this was an undervalued card. I told you guys to get it at 7, and I also forewarned, hey, it can be in the Megatons. It still could be, but I'm starting to feel like with all the announcements that maybe the Reigns Pack stuff won't be in there. We really do ramp up to a competitive season faster than ever, too, as we have the 200th on the horizon. So, like never before, our off time in the market is going to be its shortest lived before prices ramp back up. So you're really, if you're an investor, if you're going for cards then, and you're waiting to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! After the WCQ, which is the culmination of competitive play, so that doesn't make much sense. I do know people playing only in the 200th and not the WCQ, though. You might want to consider what to do with these, but it's showing that the WCQ could solidify it for the 200th. Now let's talk about some warriors that go with Isolde that have ridiculous prices. We got Junk Forward here at like a $9 mark. Actually, all of them are up ridiculously if we take a look. And I think this is the worst card out of the two options when you have access to Blue Mountain Butter Spy. I laugh every time I say the name. But I realistically think this is the better one because you're going to have two normals in a turn when you're playing Gokis and Nightmares. If you're playing a Goki Nightmare deck, this is, in my opinion, the better card because you have your initial normal. If you somehow got to more cards in the turn, your Goblin, your Nightmare Goblin is going to give you another additional normal, and it's probably going to be a Goki, and then you can get this out of your hand. Whereas this, for free, only has one chance to pop out of the hand because it reads if you control no monsters, you can special summon this. So, in my opinion, the superior play is Blue Mountain Butter Spy compared to Junk Forward. We're actually having this conversation in 2018, guys. It's not a prank, bro. But whenever you're looking at your deck and your hands for utility, I think this ends up being your better option overall. Oh no. It can't be used for a synchro material, the drawbacks. It also it has 0 attack, so I could understand, Junk Forward actually has attack, but let's be real, most time you're summoning either of these, you're linking up and using it immediately. If you're not, you're probably already losing the game unless you had some really weird exact game math with junk forward overall. Like, let's be real. Let's talk about the Mystical Space Typhoon buyout here, the ultimate rare. So, I think this is a bad buyout for one reason and one reason only. Your sales rate versus the price that this will recover to. Even if you hold this at 28 to 30 after this buyout, which I know a lot of vendors will have quantities of this. I actually do myself because it's one of the last cards I hoarded before I stopped buying and selling cards, and I was fine not selling them. I know there's a lot of vendors out there that actually have a stack of these, and they're just looking like, well, GOAT format's kind of dying. The popularity of it is. But there is a collector's market, and this does fall into a collector's market eventually. It's one of the most named cards, joked about cards, and I get that, but your sales rate is still going to be gosh awful versus it falling back towards 30 relatively quickly, in my opinion. Very similar to Caius, how it had to have revolley after revolley. People have tried with Mystical Space Typhoon, but it's just been power crept in terms of spell and trap destruction. We've got Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, so many different options. Red Reboot, to name another semi-replacement. There's just so much this card doesn't do anymore, and in my opinion, GOAT format has waned terribly. A lot of people are just sick of it. A lot of the people who kept that hype alive, like Patrick Hoban, have kind of left the game. So the mainstays that really kept popularizing it kind of left. So I think there is a place for this. In terms of value, you probably will hold it 28 to 30, but no one was snatching them up while they were 20 for the longest, and now we see this. In my opinion, it is what it is. People are making a decision. In my opinion, it's not the best due to your sales rate you'll actually have on this card. How many people are actually going to throw their money at this as it goes back down? Maybe only the people who are trying to rebuy it and sustain its price. Dragonic Diagram, final note, talking about Mega 10 cards and everything, has recovered to $28. We saw this fall all the way to under 20. This card got hit by a ban list and a reprint announcement. It lost Masterpiece, and it is starting to go back up. Well, quantities, the people who really wanted to rush sell it already did, so quantities seem lower on market overall for the people willing to sell it. And that's pretty big. But we still have a lot of sellers with quite a few quantities. We actually have 5 pages of this. So in my opinion, it's a little inflated right now. It's a great time to sell it if you're not playing in the WCQ. And by the way, when I emphasize that, I mean for its price point. If you think you want to play in events for fun, try to figure out how to break true Dracos, maybe you think it's just so consistent or has to be a way to break it in, use your own big brain plays and buy and sell with your own mind. Don't always listen to me. I'm making educated guesses here and on what I would do myself if I were buying, trading, and selling these cards. And it goes off of trends, off of what's happened in the past, and I can be wrong. But overall, I think I'm usually right, and you guys should definitely come to your own decisions on these cards. Do you pick them up now? How do you pick them up? How do you get a deal? Realistically, it's all about watching the market and waiting and deciding what to do. But money's not everything. You do, at the end of the day, we are playing this game. So do use your own decisions on that. But if you enjoyed this market watch, give it a thumbs up. I hope you did. And what do you think about how crazy these prices are getting driven because of the WCQ? It's absolutely insanity to me. It's 2,000 duelists versus, you know, a market of so many, and then other people who might go, might not go, and then the vendors on top of it. It's actually just a madhouse right now. And man, I couldn't think of a more insane time than now, besides usually February or March, where the market really starts to ramp up from the quote-unquote off time. But again, we have the 200th on the horizon. We're going to ramp up like never before, too, into the Megatons.